today is
Right.
Bryce.
All right.
Awesome.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Doing all right? Hope everybody got some donuts. Hopefully nobody leaves hungry. Well, what kind of sparked my whole discussion today was me and Rodney had our little speed dating thing, and I was thinking, everybody knows, what we do, how we do it, things like that. But I want to kind of tell y'all about how I got to this point and how our company got to this point. So just to start, I was born and raised in Gouldsville. Went to Beach High School and then went to University of Tennessee, where I was actually majoring in education. And I found out really quickly that I did not want to teach after I was in the program for about 3 years. But I decided just to get my degree and put my application out there. And I actually started with ServPro. I didn't know really anything about them. Honestly, when I first heard it, I thought it was like SURF, like ServPro. And I was like, man, I don't really, what are they doing in Tennessee? I knew nothing about the business. And that was 5 years ago. And when I first started working there, we covered Cheatham, Robertson, and Dixon counties, which we still cover today. We also covered 4 counties in southern Kentucky, which went from Franklin, Kentucky, all the way to Hopkinsville. And it was a really good territory for us because we'd been in there for a while, and we knew we had a lot of good connections in there. People trusted us, and so when the opportunity came for Sumner County to become available, it was kind of well, I wouldn't say a tough decision because a lot of our employees live in Sumner County. A lot of us have grew up in Sumner County. Would love the opportunity to work where we live, but at the same time, we had a steady revenue stream of people who trusted us and knew how we worked. Luckily, my bosses decided to pull the trigger and sold the Kentucky franchise to purchase Sumner County. Our office is actually still in White House, but stuff's kind of coming through the grapevine now that hopefully by the end of the year we might actually be in Hendersonville. Yeah, so that's kind of how I got here and how I got started. It was honestly just kind of luck, really. I kind of just stepped into it, didn't know how long I was going to be there, and 5 years later, I'm still doing it. Another thing I want to talk to y'all about is our storm team, and it's kind of funny I'm bringing that up now. We're actually on storm in Chicago for frozen pipes right now. And ServPro's done a really good job. They've worked on this through years, and they have it set up to where there's pretty much 4 ServPros in each region of the country. And anytime there's an event it could be, a hurricane, frozen pipes, wildfires, any type of natural disaster. Once it reaches a certain limit, ServPro will deem it a storm event. And then anyone who's qualified, they'll start reaching out and contacting ServPros who qualify for storm, asking if they can send a crew or 2 out to help. And then what happens, instead of that local franchise getting all the calls, it actually goes to a ServPro call center, and they just start divvying out all the jobs for people who are actually on site, helping out. So it's a good thing because if you're in that area and you're calling your local ServPro, you're still getting ServPro guys coming to help, and so a lot of times they can't even tell that we're not the local ServPro. That's not like a selling point, but it's just, it kind of gives the customer satisfaction if they call their local ServPro and the ServPro's out there in 30 minutes, starting a job, especially when their neighbors are all hit too, and they're thinking, man, it's going to be weeks before somebody can get out here. ServPro's done a really good job of getting the logistics out of how to get our guys to more jobs quicker, so people can get back in business faster. Another question that comes up a lot is the majority of the work we do is water damage. We also do fire, water, mold, and pretty much any cleaning you can think of as well. But a lot of people always ask us with water damages why some people have unfortunately had to call us twice, in different buildings, and they'll say, well, last time you came in and drove my house, you had to cut the drywall out and remove the floor. Like, why aren't you doing it this time? Just so y'all know, hopefully you never have to call us, but I'm just going to kind of tell you about our water damage process. So like, if you or anyone has a damage, you can kind of at least, your wheels can start turning to be like, okay, that's why they're doing this. Really the first thing we do when we show up is we get moisture readings and decide what's wet and how wet it actually is. Because like drywall, for instance, if it's not like fully saturated, we can actually dry drywall without cutting it, and it's kind of like the human bone. Like it'll come back stronger than what it was originally. But once it reaches a certain threshold or it's been wet for 3 days, there's not much you can do. We're not going to be able to dry it out. Another, not issue we run into, but what people ask us questions about is a lot of it depends on what type of flooring you have. if you have true hardwood floor and we get out there relatively fast, there's a good chance that we won't have to pull up that hardwood floor. We have things called injected dry mats that we set on the floor and then connect to our truck mount, and it's kind of cool. I need to show y'all a video. There's clear mats, and you can actually see the water like sucking out through the floor and then going into the truck, and we just move those around the floor until we're not getting any.
Out of the wood floor?
Yes, sir. And then what we can do also is we'll set drying equipment in the crawl space to kind of heat it up from below and suck from the top. And a lot of times we'll be able to save the hardwood floor. Now on the repair side, there might have to be some sand and refinishing done, but I mean that's a lot less expensive than having to pull up and put down brand new hardwood floor. There's certain type of floors though that we can't do that. Vinyl flooring, we can't extract through that. If it's vinyl flooring, it's got to come up. Carpet is kind of 50-50. It's kind of one of those things where it depends on how wet it is, how long it's been, and if it's delaminating. Delaminating is a fancy word for when you peel it back, pretty much what the backside of the carpet looks like. If it's shredded, we're not going to be able to save it. But kind of the same thing with hardwood floor. When we do save carpet, you know, it's still a good idea to do a carpet cleaning, and a lot of times it needs to be restretched, but we can't save it. The padding though, anytime carpet padding gets wet, it's like insulation. Once carpet padding gets wet, it serves no purpose. It's just like a steroid for mold to grow. It really is. So just so you know, if you have a water damage at your house, you can kind of look at what type of flooring you have and kind of be like, well, you know, there's a chance this might get saved. There's a chance, you know, it's 100% gonna have to be pulled up. It really depends on how long the water's sitting there and how wet it is. And that's why one of our big selling points is response time. Our franchise has a really good response time. We're by our ServPro agreement, we have to make contact with the homeowner within 30 minutes of when we get the contact. So over the phone, and then we have to be on site within 3 hours of that contact. But honestly, our franchise, I'd say we call within 5 minutes of getting a lead, and we're out there within an hour. Now there's some instances like we're on storm right now. We have 2 crews in Chicago. I'm helping out with production, so if we get 5 calls in the next hour, we might not be able to get to the 4th or 5th one within that hour, but we're going to get to them eventually. And so that's why you should expect that out of your restoration vendor, a good response time. That's I can't stress that enough. How quickly you get out there could be the difference of saving, you know, 1,000 square feet of hardwood floor or having to rip it all up and put down new hardwood floor. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I was going to talk about. I want to talk about storm and want to talk about kind of routine water damages. Does anybody have any questions about our services?
Or question?
Yes, sir.
So this time of year, we're getting lots of calls for nesting skunks. Do you guys clean that up?
Yes, sir. We clean that up, but we are not a pest company, so we're not going to actually go in and remove the skunk. Now we've removed like dead animals, you know. If we're in a crawl space or something doing a cleaning and we see the carcass,
If you kill the skunk, they'll come and get him.
We'll take care of it, but we're not going to set traps. Yeah, no, edit that out, Ron. We're not a pest company, so you know and the same thing. We get that question with bed bugs a lot too. Do we treat bed bugs? We actually clean up the carcasses, but we don't treat it. And so with a skunk nesting, as long as they got if their air conditioning unit got sprayed or their crawl space got sprayed, we can take care of the odor, but we're not going to take a call that says, hey, we got skunks in our crawl space, can you come get it?
Right, so that's a twofer. So someone's got to remove the skunk, and then after that,
we can take care of the odor. Yes, sir.
That's a paws and claws or critters R Us or
we've used Animal Pro in the past. This is a kind of funny story based off that. We had an odor inspection in a crawl space, and there was a bunch of animal droppings, and you know, it smelled really bad down there. And luckily, I wasn't down there, but they thought they heard stuff in the duct line. So our tech that was under there was kind of, you know, pushing on the duct line, felt something kind of heavy, and it wasn't moving. And he stuck his knife up in the duct line and then pulled it out, and I mean, it looked like a horror scene. Yeah, so that's just a small story of like what we run into every day. I mean, literally every day it's something weird along those lines. But
found the cat.
We got it was a raccoon. We got the raccoon out, cleaned everything up, then set the odor equipment, and you know they were fine. And
but he don't just go poking around and ducking.
And one other thing, unless anybody else has any questions, I guess one of the biggest misconceptions of ServPro is oh, they're large loss guys. We don't need to call them if we have a small leak in the bathroom or something. Honestly, there is no job that's too big or too small for us. I mean, we just finished up a big job at a nursing home under construction, and then also this week we've gotten calls for little bathroom leaks that are under deductible where we just work with the homeowner. So I mean, don't ever say oh, this is too small for ServPro, because it's not. We do free estimates, free inspections all the time. So if you know anybody that has any type of issue, we're not going to charge them just to go out there and tell them what's wrong and tell them what we're going to do. I think that's all I really had time to talk about. I know it wasn't anything crazy exciting or anything, but I just kind of want to let y'all know how I got here and some of the stuff that just kind of gets overlooked. Because a lot of people just think ServPro and they think natural disasters, and it's really not like that at all. A lot of our work is small bathroom leaks and things like that. So does anybody else have any other questions or anything for me?
Good
Thank
job,
y'all
man.
very much. I appreciate it.
Good job.
Yeah.